Hi, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. We're back after a holiday break that we took. But
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. Same to you. Happy holidays. So let's talk about cold weather. And that seems to be all anybody's talking about this week is how brutally cold it is. And, of course, when you live in it, you know, that's all you think about. So let's talk about some of the colder games that you played in and how you dealt with it. You're from Florida, right?
Yes,
Do you remember your first cold game?
I do. I remember a lot of things knowing the first thing I would check is the footing, which now the Packers got this new wave, new age stuff. So the footing may not be as bad, but there's still an element to the cold weather. And I remember talking to some guys in the military about how do you guys, you know, just crawl in snow and you're underneath the snow and you have to wait for one shot or whatever. And the guy said he would insulate himself with Vaseline all over your body so the heat releases from your head. And he also would talk to some of the weather people to see how close am I to frostbite. You know, what's the weather potential that I have to have sleeves. Jordan Nelson talked about this is his first game he's going to have sleeves because he had heard if you're exposed to it, weather what you're seeing now, it's a harmful thing. So you got to wear sleeves. Now I would wear sleeves all the time, but it was some weirdo players that will have no sleeves, and there's going to be some fans out there with no sleeves. But the aspects of the game as a defensive back, Tom, I knew the receivers weren't running 4-3 on the surface, so you can sit on a lot of plays, but it does slow everything way down.
But what about the actual, just the cold? I mean, are you shivering? Are you, once you get going, do you start warming up?
The adrenaline of being in a playoff game with 75,000, well, less than 75,000, 70,000 or so fans yelling for you keeps you warm. The idea of making a big play in your brain, interception, fumble, keeps you warm.
You're not thinking about your hands are cold.
No. The fact that it's the playoffs, everybody's watching this game keeps you warm. Now, you go to the sideline.
What about that?
It's a human element. You're cold. They put the cape on you. And you can sit on the bench.
Bench is warm.
The benches are warm, but sometimes they break when it's so cold. I think they only work up until like 15 below. If it's more than 15 below wind chill, they may break. So you can expect that. There's no water. It's all frozen.
They use like broth or hot broth?
They use the hot broth, like the chicken soup broth or something, and that's too hot to drink. So it's best just play. You hydrate yourself, and this is very important. You hydrate yourself Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That means if you're a guy that likes to drink a little bit of alcohol, don't drink this week. Because you could be out of the game with cramps. You could be out of the game with not breathing properly. So there's an element to this more so than the game.
Okay, now you always see the receivers, running backs, always by that big ground heater. They got their feet.
I got a story about that.
Were you one of those guys who hung by the heater all the time?
Yeah, I hung by the heater, Tom, and I remember smelling bacon. And I looked up, and I was on fire. I got too close to it, and my coat was burning. And I think it was Perry Kemp. He came over there with some fed. He said, I said, what are you doing, dude? I got a girlfriend. Back up. He said, dude, you're on fire. And everybody just kind of laughed. Because I'm from Florida, I kept getting closer and closer. And we were around this thing like a bunch of guys around a garbage can with wine in our pocket or something. But if you get too close, you can burn yourself. If you get too further away from it, you're cold. So, and that's the guys who are not playing.
One game, you know, the Raiders game, when you invented the Lambeau Leap, was extremely cold. I think it was about 0. And as I recall, the Raiders came from, they were in L.A. back then.
Yes, absolutely.
And
San Francisco and California.
My recollection is they just quit. They were, this is too cold.
They weren't really
We're going home, you know? I mean, was that what you remember from that?
Absolutely. I remember that game vividly, and I just remember these guys coming in. When they left, matter of fact, when they left, I think the Los Angeles area or whatever, I think it was like 57 degrees and sunny. And when you land, it's freezing. And they're not going anywhere. And they're down 21-0 when the Lambeau Leap actually happened. So, but in this particular case, I think Colin Kaepernick, his coldest game was 34 degrees. He actually had a pretty good game. But this is a different element. And I think this is where your quarterback, the trajectory of the ball can help. And Aaron Rodgers is the best at that. His ball wouldn't hang up in that air. It would be low enough to where it can make a difference.
I think probably the grip and just how the ball comes out of your hand is different. But this is also a tough 49ers team. I mean, to me, they remind me a little bit of the Giants coming into Lambeau.
2007.
In 2007, just beating the you-know-what out of the Packers, just being more physical and winning the game that way. I mean, do you think the 49ers will be affected by the cold?
Well, yes.
You do?
But I think the Packers will, too. I think the difference is Eddie Lacy and Starks, they're built for this weather. They're built for it. They got one of the best running games. So does San Francisco. But everybody's going to be cold, Tom.
Yeah.
It's up to how do you facilitate the game plan.
Okay.
Who can concentrate. But I think for the most part, it's more in San Francisco's head than the Green Bay Packers. Because both teams will be cold. Let's not kid ourselves. But the Green Bay Packers won't worry about it as much as San Francisco will.
Coming back in just his second game, after that layoff, he obviously wasn't completely sharp last week, Aaron Rodgers, I'm talking about.
He was a little rusty, but you can't say rust.
What do you think? Yeah, he won't allow you to say rust. Don't say rust. What do you think he'll be like this week in the cold, second game?
Well, he'll still
what
be
do
a
you
little.
expect
He still may be a little rusty, but he's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, even the two interceptions in Chicago, one of them was just a horrible decision. One of them was just a pass that he normally throws guys open, threw it behind Jordan Nelson, tip passes. That's football. Mm-hmm. He knows this defense very well. He knows where to put the football.
Right.
He knows how to handle it. And the more important thing, he runs the 2-minute drill better than any quarterback. Mm-hmm. He may be smarter than any quarterback. And I think that's the reason people saw the emergence of Jordan Nelson, 10 catches, 166 yards against Chicago. I've seen holes in this Niner defense. The last two quarterbacks put up some nice numbers.
Right.
And
they're a little banged up in the secondary.
Absolutely.
Too. Carlos Rodgers might not play.
Yes.
And then their backup slot guy pulled his hamstring yesterday. So we'll see about that.
So it's opportunities. I think for the most part, Aaron Rodgers got to get his team in position to make plays. They got a cold weather kicker. That's a factor.
Yeah.
So this may be the hardest game the Packers may face, Tom. If they get past this game, weather's never an issue anymore.
No, but going to Seattle would be really a tough game because of the.
I think they welcome that challenge. Well, let's get past.
But last thing, can their defense rise to the occasion? No Clay Matthews. We're going to look at some plays that just obviously discouraged you from the Bears game. They did enough in the Bears game to win.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, they're starting to get some turnovers, but can they rise to the occasion with this defense?
Well, a lot of people think the answer to this defense is to fire Capers, and I don't think so. Mm-hmm. A lot of Capers make good calls, but you got to have people to execute it.
Yeah.
Alignment, assignment, and execution.
Right.
That's the only thing you need to think about, Tom.
Yeah.
We're going to stay tuned for X's and O's, because when you don't do those three things, a pedestrian quarterback can kill you.
Yeah.
So if you're playing a guy like Jay Cutler or you're playing Colin Kaepernick, and we're going to show two different plays where Colin Kaepernick would take that ball and run it, which he did in the first playoff game.
Right.
But if you're Gore, if you look at the film where you see what Forte did, is cutting back and there's nobody there.
Right.
This defense has to do a lot of things. Real quick. What we did to San Francisco, we went out there. In my new book, Packer Pride, we went out to San Francisco. We changed it up a little bit, Tom. Mm-hmm. And we did the same thing to Dallas. And Tyler Dunham's going to write a story about it. We changed it up to say we're going to take away some things. We're going to take away 85, 81, and 21. Okay, Gore, okay, Vernon Davis, and we're going to take away Anquan Bolden. Everybody else, Lord have mercy.
Okay.
You got to take it out you got to almost be like a box in three and make sure those guys don't hurt you.
Right.
If Colin Kaepernick can put up 400 yards with the other wide receivers, hey, they deserve to win.
So be it.
But those three guys, we won't let them beat us.
Okay. All right, we'll see
Hopefully
what
the Packers
happens.
can do
That
that.
happens. Okay. So we will see you next week, barring any frostbite and any other issues.
We'll be here anyway.
Yeah, we'll be here. So thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you next week.